The murder of a seemingly perfect family shocked the quiet town of Ashford. But what no one knew was that the tragic deaths of Greg and Evelyn Livingston, along with their children, were only the final act in a twisted series of events that had been set into motion years before. Hidden behind their pristine facade, the Livingston family's dark past, the very thing they had tried to outrun, was about to come to light. Please, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next chilling tales. The tragic deaths were not a random act of violence. They were the final consequences of betrayal, ambition, and secrets that would forever alter the town's history. From the outside, the Livingston family was everything Ashford had come to admire. Well-to-do, successful, and gracious. Greg, a talented architect, had moved back to Ashford with his wife, Evelyn, after years of living in the city. They had 2 children, Amelia, a brilliant and shy 14-year-old girl, and Luke, their carefree 9-year-old son, who spent his days playing in the yard or exploring the woods behind their expansive home. The family had lived in Ashford before, many years ago, when Greg was just starting his career and their children were just babies. Their return was warmly welcomed by the community. Greg, ever the charming professional, quickly established himself as one of the most respected figures in town. Evelyn, with her nurturing nature, became a beloved figure, volunteering at the local school and organizing charity events. They were a picture of suburban bliss, and the town couldn't get enough of them. But beneath this glossy surface of suburban perfection, cracks had begun to form. Greg's uneasy sense of unease was growing. Strange occurrences started happening. Anonymous letters, weird phone calls, and a creeping paranoia that something or someone was watching him. At first, Greg dismissed these incidents as nothing more than coincidence or the stress of adjusting to life back in his hometown. But deep down, he knew that his past, one he had hoped was buried, was catching up to him. Greg's past had never been perfect. In his 20s, he had been part of a close-knit group of friends, Adam, Thomas, and Caroline. All 4 had started college together with big dreams of making it big. They shared a bond based on ambition, late-night study sessions, and endless plans to conquer the world. But ambition breeds competition, and competition breeds betrayal. Greg's ambition to succeed quickly in the world of architecture led him down a dangerous path. When a major opportunity arose, a lucrative contract to design a sprawling luxury development, Greg took matters into his own hands. Adam, his best friend and fellow architect, had put in years of work on a design proposal. It was Adam's passion project, one he had poured his heart and soul into. But Greg, eager to secure his future and rise to the top, stole Adam's design and presented it as his own to the client. Adam was devastated when he found out, and it tore their friendship apart. To add salt to the wound, Greg's rise to success meant Adam's downfall. The once promising architect was left with nothing. No job, no income, and a reputation shattered by Greg's backstabbing. Adam disappeared from their lives, never to be heard from again. Thomas and Caroline, though both successful in their own right, were left in the middle of this toxic rivalry. Caroline, who had always been the voice of reason, tried to mediate between her friends, but her attempts were in vain. She watched in silence as Greg, emboldened by his newfound success, continued to step on others to climb higher. Thomas, on the other hand, became consumed by bitterness. He couldn't shake the feeling that Greg had destroyed everything they had worked for. He tried reaching out to Adam, but found that his friend had disappeared without a trace. The guilt over Adam's disappearance gnawed at Thomas. As the years passed, the group of friends, once inseparable, drifted apart. Greg moved forward, achieving great professional success. He married Evelyn, had children, and lived the life he had always dreamed of. But the dark cloud of betrayal loomed over him, and the friendships he had destroyed were never far from his mind. After years of living in the city, Greg and Evelyn decided to return to Ashford. Greg's successful career and the birth of their children had changed everything. But the move back to his hometown was bittersweet. He was eager to raise his family in the town where he'd grown up, yet something in him was unsettled. He had avoided Ashford for years, not wanting to confront his past. But now, with his children growing up, he thought it was the perfect time for a fresh start. But Ashford had changed, and so had the people in it. Their arrival was met with warm smiles, but something felt off. The locals seemed too kind, too welcoming. It was almost as if they were hiding something. Greg, for the first time in years, felt the weight of his past pushing in on him. The first strange incident happened one afternoon, when Greg was out running errands. When he returned home, he found his front door slightly ajar, though he was certain he had locked it before leaving. At first, he thought it was just a mistake, but then he noticed that some of his personal belongings had been moved just slightly, as if someone had been looking through them. Then came the phone calls, silent calls at odd hours of the night. No voice on the other end, just the eerie hum of the line. And then the letters, each one with the same cryptic message. "You can't escape what you did, Greg." It was only after the third letter arrived, filled with chilling threats, that Greg realized he wasn't dealing with a mere prank. Someone knew the truth. Someone was watching him, waiting for the right moment to strike. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. As the threats grew more intense, Greg grew desperate. He tried contacting Thomas, but received no response. Caroline, whom he had once considered a friend, had also become elusive, as if she was deliberately avoiding him. Greg's paranoia reached new heights. His family, once the picture of normalcy, was now living in constant fear. Evelyn noticed the changes in Greg. His once confident demeanor was replaced by anxiety and sleepless nights. One evening, Greg received an email. It was from an anonymous address, but the message was clear. "You betrayed us, Greg. Now you'll pay." Fear consumed Greg. He knew it was only a matter of time before the past he had tried so hard to bury would come back to haunt him. But nothing could prepare him for the next blow. It was a cold night, snow blanketing Ashford in a thick, suffocating layer. The Livingstons were preparing for a quiet evening at home, but their world was about to shatter. As they sat around the dinner table, the doorbell rang. Greg, hoping for a break in the chaos, opened the door to find Thomas standing there, his face gaunt, his eyes wild. "Greg," Thomas's voice trembled. "You thought you could outrun what you did, but you can't. You owe us everything." Before Greg could react, Thomas stepped inside, and that's when the truth came crashing down. Thomas had not been alone. Caroline and Adam, the man Greg had betrayed years ago, had returned to Ashford, and they had been planning their revenge for months. The confrontation turned violent. The anger, resentment, and betrayal that had simmered for years finally exploded. Greg tried to defend himself, but the rage Thomas had been holding onto for so long had turned him into someone unrecognizable. In the chaos, gunshots rang out. Greg was struck, his body collapsing onto the floor. Evelyn, desperate to protect her children, tried to intervene, but she, too, became a casualty of the revenge that had been set in motion years before. In the midst of the horror, young Luke, hiding in the corner of the room, witnessed the entire massacre, his small face frozen in terror. The police arrived at the scene too late. Thomas, Caroline, and Adam were all arrested, but the damage had been done. The Livingstons were dead, and the town of Ashford would never be the same again. The truth behind their deaths, Greg's betrayal of his closest friends, was revealed in the media, sending shockwaves through the community. The perfect family had been brought down by secrets that had never been resolved, by wounds that had festered over years. The tragic murders were the final, violent conclusion to a series of events that began long before the Livingstons ever moved back to Ashford. Greg's ambition, his betrayal, and his inability to face the past had cost him everything. In the end, the Livingstons' death served as a grim reminder. No one can outrun their past, and the consequences of betrayal can be deadly, especially when left unresolved. The living victims, the town Luke, would forever carry the scars of that night. A family destroyed, a legacy shattered, and a town left to pick up the pieces, forever haunted by the ghosts of the past. Please, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next chilling tales. Never forget, the past, no matter how well hidden, always resurfaces, and the consequences of betrayal are far-reaching, often resulting in irreversible damage. And ambition, when unchecked and driven by selfishness, can destroy friendships, families, and even entire lives, leaving scars that may never heal.